Good evening and welcome to the Speakeasy Podcast. I am your host, Constance Woolard, and I am incognito tonight because I've had an allergic reaction to a medication I received today. So I will be off camera, but my voice will be here live and strong. And so I want to welcome you to another series of relationships and Christian dating. And tonight we have the hot topic we're going to discuss. How did I forget to be your lover? How did I forget to be your lover? So I've got my experts here with me tonight, Pastor Robert Cockfield, Mr. Two Actor Courtney Daniel J. Williams, and also Tracy Carr. Good evening to you tonight, panelists. How are you?
Great.
Doing great.
Wonderful.
Okay, great to see you here. And are we ready for this discussion that's before us tonight?
Most definitely.
And so I'm going to start off tonight by saying that, a lot of times when we're in relationships and marriages, we get so wrapped up into the daily routine of things that are going on that we forget to consider the other person that's in the mix with us. We forget to consider their feelings, how they may be feeling, what may be going on with them. Do they need some extra attention from me? Do I need extra attention from them? And we just take it as a norm. And years go by, things continue to happen the same old way, routines develop, and years go by, and we get to the place where we ask, how did I forget to be this person's lover? How? How did that happen? Why did it happen? And so I'm going to start with you, Pastor Cockfield. Good evening. Talk to me about it.
Well, again, transparency is lucency. So, 41 years, 38 married, um, going through a process of separation divorce. We just had this conversation with the individual I was with. And first of all, I'm going to start off with this. It starts with how you consummate the relationship. And I think, I'm going to call him Dr. Williams. We've been on a couple of times, on doing this. He laughing. But I appreciate his honesty because he even said it. One of the things that happens is you do it and you know, the reasons why you consummate a relationship or a marriage at the time when you first do it, especially when you're young, I'm going to say some stuff that, as a pastor, is probably going to shock some people. But here's the point. Did I consult God? Somebody asked me that. When you first got married, did you talk to God? No. And I was a preacher. I didn't. It was sex. It was flesh. It was me not understanding the seriousness of having a relationship with God and understanding being spirit filled, spirit led, where is God and all this. I didn't do that. I'm being honest. Now, you'll have a lot of people who try to cover up the stuff from the past and they'll try to spiritualize it and put covers on it and lie. But I'm being honest because I want to help people. That's number one. Number two, I had a child at 16, 17 years old. I did. And then you get married because the church folks and all that said, you know what? We need you to come to a retreat and, hang out with all the senior people in the church. And we're going to teach you how to be a man. Really? That didn't work. Cause it just, you know what I did? I faked the funk. I went to the retreat, stayed all night, slept, and did all that stuff. And they was, speaking in tongues and doing all these scriptures and stuff. I didn't even know what they was talking about. I just, I played the game because I wanted to fit in, to get in. Next, I get married, and man, it was like a jet plane with some extra. You I go overseas and I have a family, and I'm trying to, I got exceptional policy to take a family, and I'm a private over in Germany, and then you try to raise this family, and they raising you, and that's truth. And me and my son today, he almost 40 about that. They asked me, Dad, did you know what you was doing? I said, no, I did not. I said, man, y'all was raising me. And then when you add your background, where I come from the hood. I didn't have nothing. And you finally start getting something. I'm military and you're getting a check. Now I can get a car and I can get all these, stuff. And all the
Pastor Cockfield, you're breaking up on us.
stuff.
You're breaking up on us. We can't understand what you're saying.
And
So okay, there you go. Yeah, you're still breaking up. What I need for you to do is to sign out and sign back in, and I'm going to move over to Daniel.
because of our our in
Pastor
becomes
Cockfield, Pastor Cockfield, you're breaking up on us. I need you to sign out and sign back in, and I'm going to move over to Daniel Williams. Did you hear me, Pastor Cockfield? I need you to sign out and sign back in because you're breaking up. We can't understand what you're saying. So I'm going to ask you to log out and log back in, and I'm going to move over to Daniel Williams, okay? Okay, Daniel, come on and talk to me about it. How are you this evening?
Doing wonderful, doing wonderful. How are you ladies?
Oh, doing well.
Wonderful. I was almost going to kind of jump in there where Pastor Cofield did, but I mean, I know as far as men go, it's what I was taught, that the love thing is being her lover. It was always with a man, it's a physical thing. It was about being I don't know, let me see how to say this in the right. If she was mesmerized by the sexual part of our relationship, then that's what a man, that's what usually taught the men as being a lover of your woman, and not so much the being caring for her and doing the things that just makes her smile, that makes her think about you from the things that you do for her, the concern that you have. I know that in my earlier years, it was more or less the sexual thing about it. And another reason why I just forgot to be a lover is because I thought that going out and making something comfortable for her, making life comfortable for her, being able to purchase her things, or she asks for this, I can get that was being a good lover, when it was more of I just neglected the mental and emotional part of it. So I as far as guys go, we never go in, we never really think about it, the mental and emotional part of being a lover, until like we get older. For some reason, we have to go through all of those, breaking our heart and going in through all of the conversations and the discussions and the arguments of, you're not listening to me. It's like, I know I'm listening to you. Aren't I good? We just think it's about being great in bed. And if she's mesmerized by that you're being a great lover, and as long as you're providing things, that makes you that's what I thought. And I know a lot of other men, have grown up being conditioned to believe that way. So that's like one of the major things I would say, that as far as men go, that's why we forget to be a real lover, emotionally and mentally.
Wow. And you're right, because from a woman's perspective, it goes beyond that. Sometimes, I just need you. We're in the kitchen and I'm cooking, just to walk up behind me and let me know that I still excite you. Hit me on my behind every now and then and say, hey, girl, I see it. It still looks good to me.
Yeah.
Cut that grass without me having to ask you to cut that grass.
Those things.
The grass has to be cut. That on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, the same thing happened here at this house. The trash runs. You put the trash out Tuesday and Thursday. Don't let me have to remind you. Don't let me have to ask you. Just do that. And when you do that, and I'm like, oh man, my baby did this. Oh, look at that yard. He did a good job on that yard. Yes, he did. And women, we have a responsibility too now. That thing works two ways. We have to be just as encouraging and supportive of our partners. So the same things that you want, you need to be supplying for them, because they need attention too. They need nurturing too. Okay? They need to know that, hey, I still turn you on. I still excite you. You're still number one in my book. They need to hear that. And so all of that is so important. And you're right, Daniel. It goes beyond the bedroom. That's just only a fraction of it. It's what you're going to do. The relationship is, what are you going to do after and beyond that point? How do we sustain and maintain each other? How do we keep that love going strong in the relationship? So thank you so much, Daniel, for sharing that. Tracy, good evening. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Okay, so talk to me about it. How did you forget, or how do we forget to be someone's lover?
Oh, it's very easy. um, the question is it that you really forget? So what happens is, we pick and choose. Is one of those things of one day I love you, the next day I may like you. So from a biblical context, it tells us that we are required to love one another. But that word like, I'm not required to like you, but I'm required to love you. So what I'm learning with a lot of men when it comes to love, it's about respect. It depends on how you respect that man, and it depends on that word submissive, and that's saying submissive to a point where you better do what I tell you to do, but it's back to appreciation. It's back to empowerment. It's back to putting yourself in a position where you remind them, give them those affirmations of, how strong you are, how much of a protector you are, how much of a provider you are, and appreciation, and telling them thank you for the simple things in life. I can speak for myself, because of those things in my life that may had not transpired. More and more when I look at First Corinthians, I believe 13, when I'm learning about love is patient, love is kind, and I'm starting to look at the requirements of what love really is, it makes a true difference in the direction that you go. So as far as that intimate part, that intimacy is built off of patience, is built off of kindness, is built off of being slow to anger. When that person starts to see your heart, and where you're coming from, or back to those conversations, when you don't comprehend what that person is saying, it causes a love language that does not exist. So let's talk about love languages. Um, when you deal with love languages, for some men may not know theirs. So a lot of men are acts of service and quality time, where a lot of women is like, it might be a physical touch, or it could be or show me. And so sometimes when that love language does not line up with who you say you are, and and you want to see that action, it causes you to forget to love them. And it can cause you to go numb. And when I say numb, it's not that you're not tell anybody, whether it's divorce or whatever. It's not that you will ever stop loving that person. It just becomes a totally different type of love, and respect. And so I look at it as it's an option. Did I forget to love you? No, I didn't. I just chose not to. And I'm going to release it at that.
Oh, wow. Now that was interesting. And you brought up that word respect. Respect goes a long way. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about respect. Daniel, what are your thoughts on respect?
Well, respect is definitely important. It's at the beginning of it. So if we're gonna actually love someone and be a lover of that person, then respect is not the fact that going in looking for respect. Because now these days I'm always hearing that they come in and they're expecting to be respected first and not knowing how to reciprocate it. All they want to do is receive respect and not give. And if you look at it from, I bring it up like what Miss Tracy Carr brought, biblically speaking, God he didn't even look for reciprocity. He gave from the start. He was just giving him of himself. He just loved. It said, for God so loved the world that he gave. He gave. He didn't say, he wasn't expecting anything in return, but he was giving what he was. So I mean, it's things about a person that would actually that would have you to respect them to a point of, you don't want to just enter into something and someone's just going to use you. You don't want to be just a person that all they do is withdraw and never make deposits. You want to be smart, but you have to go into a relationship, just knowing that you have to give. You know what you have to give, and you give all of that. And sometimes that not in I want to say not in bad relationships or those just one-sided relationships, but someone who might be having an issue with really opening up and accepting love. Just the fact that you just continue to give and you don't say, are you going to return? I'm doing all of this. Don't announce what you're doing. You just continue to love them. And that is going to, just like love covers a multitude, that love will conquer their fears, and they'll open up the doors. They'll let the wall down. They'll let the drawbridge down so you can come across. So that respect thing, it definitely works both ways. But when you go in just knowing that I'm going to love genuinely, it's without looking for a return. But in a healthy relationship, you have to have that reciprocity. There has to be deposits made in both accounts.
All right. So how did Aretha say it? RESPECT. All right. Find out what it means to me. Thank you so much, Daniel. Insightful as always. And so I see Pastor Cockfield has gone and left us again. And so, we talked about respect and how for God, he did things without reciprocity. He just did. He just loved because that's what he felt was required. Okay, that's the foundation that he laid for us. So why is it when we have our relationships or we enter into relationships, why is it that we can't use those same foundations to build and to strengthen our relationships? Why is that?
That's because of pain, the pain that produces purpose. So if you're still stuck on something that happened as a child, and and I find this with a lot of adults, you go through this transition, you've been through counseling, and you've been through all this stuff. And for some odd reason, when you get to a certain age, you decide, it may not even be a certain age, you decide to release it into your relationship. And when I say release it, it's almost like you transform from being an adult into a child. I don't know if it's a trigger or if it's a reminder, but you become stuck. And I've seen this in some of the people that I've dealt with or counseled before. And you allow those past things to define who you are, opposed to becoming what you should be. And that's what I'm starting to learn as far as that goes. And even this past weekend, I had a situation that it really shocked me how everything played out. And I'm going to say it, our children. And when they want mama or they want daddy, they don't want to see you with nobody else. They want to see you with their mother or their father, and they would do whatever it takes to make sure you could possibly be unhappy. As in where I was the child who wanted to bring my family together. And when I say my family, I'm saying my father and his partner and my mother and my dad who raised me. It wasn't about that. It was just having the relationship with my parents and who they're with. Honestly, that is none of my business. I just want them to be happy. And if they're happy, then that means the family will be happier. But not everybody gets that because they're still stuck in what was. And being transparent about being honest. Like I said, you could divorce somebody. I don't understand when people divorce somebody and they be like, oh, I don't love them. I'm like, you lying. I don't understand how you can be with somebody and then all of a sudden I don't love you no more. I don't understand that to save my life. No, you still love them. Once again, it just tends to be a different type of love. And you might still be mad, but um, it's people are stuck, and that's all.
Wow. Wow. And so it goes back to what I often say is before we entertain relationships of any kind, we need to understand ourselves and work on ourselves first before jumping off the ledge into a relationship. If we are not fixed within ourselves, or we don't understand ourselves, or we have not worked out some issues, we tend to bring all that baggage to relationships. And that is not good. That is not good for the relationship. And the relationship cannot survive and thrive and be healthy if individuals are bringing baggage to that relationship. So, in order for us to be successful in relationships, I'm a firm believer we have to understand ourselves, learn to like ourselves, learn to love ourselves, and to work out whatever it is within ourselves that's holding us back or preventing us to do the things that we need to do in this life before we explore entertaining relationships. Now, that's just my thoughts on it. Pastor Cofield, what do you think?
I'm sorry, I had some technical difficulties. Let me start from scratch.
Okay.
So again, I'm coming out of a relationship with 41 years of knowing a person and 38 being married. And somebody asked me just recently, did you pray and ask God about the relationship? And I said no, I did not. That's number one. So we got to be transparent, translucent about who did you consult. Two, one of the things that I had to come to grips with is that I wasn't prepared. Three, in that, nothing against the church, but you have church folks and the institution that will try to say, in spite of, just deal with it or fake it till you make it or it'll work out. That's not true. Just so how can you really love a person when you don't even love yourself? You're trying to figure that out. And then you raise the children, they're raising you. That's a reality. And so you add trash and debris from your past. You're trying to you deplete yourself to complete other people. That's another issue. You so busy trying to be a little G and make sure everybody else is fine, they okay, and all that stuff. And then you don't even have the resources, the wherewithal to even make sure that you're okay so you can take care of somebody else. Now, I said all that to say this. When do we take responsibility for the fact that we didn't consult God in the first place? And then how do you tell a person that? How do you finally come to grips with, okay, I made a decision. It was of the flesh. It was me. Really not even you. I just did what I thought was right. I was reading, I'm rereading this book by Joyce Myers, and it's talking about the battlefield of the mind. One of the things she talked about was the difference between doubt and, well, let me stop there. She was talking about doubt. Doubt says that you have to pick a fork in the road. It's two decisions to make. And without being spirit-led, spirit-filled, who's making the decision? I was making the decision. I made that decision. So my point is, to your question, the answer is, it's how you start. And I started wrong. And then it comes a point when you got to be transparent with people and translucent and be honest and just say, okay, I did it wrong. What's wrong with that? Now, here's the last thing I'm going to end up with. My son finally told me, he said he's married and, they had some struggles early on in marriage. And he's almost 40 years old. He said, Dad, one of the things that I finally learned, there's no manual on how do you disconnect from a relationship when you've done it wrong. And he said, man, the church, people, all those folks, they don't talk to you about the stuff that we talk about. Like we having some real dialogue conversations about me and his mom's relationship. But here's the point. He said, no, why folks just can't be honest? Why people got to be nasty to disconnect? I got to hate you. I don't like you. I don't. And as Tracy alluded to, you lying. I had to go back and somebody said, let me ask you a question. Was that your first real love? Yep. Excuse my vernacular. Was that your first real piece of pee? Yep. Was that your first marriage? Yep. Was that your first baby mama? Yep. See all them first. Now, how you gonna lie and tell people, oh no, I just got amnesia. I don't even know what happened. I don't care. It's I don't remember anything. It just was all just a bad dream. You're lying. That was your first piece. That was your first wife. That was your first baby mama. Come on, man. So I had to tell her and everybody else, shut up. Be quiet. Because I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm never gonna forget that. Why should I lower my standard to meet you where you are? Just to prove a point. And when folks come to you with this advice stuff, this is what I had to learn. They're bringing to you their trash and debris and their bad experiences. So what they're trying to tell you to do is lower your standard and meet them where they are and be nasty. It's ridiculous. So I finally just said, I'm not doing it. I ain't got time. Now, I read Ecclesiastes, the 8th through the 10th or 11th chapter. Blew my mind. Now, I'm supposed to be a theologian, got all these degrees and pastor and preaching all this. Never read the stuff. And I finally read it. And the author said, look here, in so many words, evil folks and good folks, we don't understand how God do business. But guess what? Stuff happens to all of us. And it's not fair. And we can sit up here and say, well, why did that guy, him or her, get over and they was evil and the good die young and all that crazy? That person said in that Bible, and anybody that want to challenge me can read it. That individual that wrote that particular chapter said, if you're smart, you better eat, drink, and live. Cut all the craziness. Because this is what we doing. We so busy losing time, talent, and treasure, grading people, degrading, devaluing, and trying to get back at folks and act a fool. And we ain't living. And we're not God. You can't change folks. You're not gonna make even the bad relationship. That's why it went bad. See, you got folks trying to act like God. So here's my point. Quit wasting your time, man. I'm almost 60. And I read that Sunday, my life changed because I finally realized, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? You sitting up here, man, acting a fool, trying to correct and validate and negotiate with terrorists and all that stuff, man. And the author in the Bible said, if you're smart, you better eat, drink, live. And when you die, over time, people ain't gonna remember nothing. I was just talking to somebody and I said, isn't that strange? My parents just died. My mom just died last year. Now I'm asking people, I'm talking to people. They said, oh, what did your mom do? Who was she? What did she do? They already done forgot. My dad died years ago. Now, and he was all of this and musician and all that stuff. Where he was from, he was well known. Now I go back home, they're like, who's your daddy? What's his name? What did he do? Think about that. We're gonna be the same. Mm-hmm. The dead know nothing. That's Bible. So my point is, this love thing, we need to get it right, man. Is if you mess it up, jack it up, tie it up, tangle it up, let it go, be nice, move on. And other people are watching to see how you handle that craziness. And then you start living when you be honest about where you are and being transparent, translucent about the fact you didn't get it right. And that's why, again, I said when I started off, now I just met the the other host that's on here, I call him the doctor, because he was the most honest person I ever seen in my life. He just said, that's what changed me. When I last was on this, you know, I'm on this show with you. He was, how can I say this without being disrespectful? Other church people tried to clean it up. He just said, hey, you know, the first gig I had, man, I was a terrorist. I was terrorizing. I was doing some crazy stuff. I didn't have it right. And then I go another round. Then I finally figured it out. What's wrong with telling people the truth?
Exactly. Transparency, full transparency. That is so important. And for some reason, we have a problem with doing that. But, you know, as I always say, if you're big and bad enough to do it, be big and bad enough to tell it and to talk about it and to help somebody else. If you messed it up, you just messed it up. If you was hoeing, you were just hoeing. Let's be for real about it. Let's be, you know, I'll never forget when I filed for divorce and I was talking to my grandmother, my paternal grandmother. And, you know, and to me, she and my grandfather, they were saints to me, you know, because I never heard anything bad about them. They'd always been good to me. I thought they were saints. And we were talking, and she said, so why are you getting a divorce? And I told, well, you want me to tell you about your granddad? I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. I don't want to sit here and hear a discussion about my granddad being a hoe. I didn't come here this evening for you. Let me tell you what your granddaddy did. I'm like, oh, Jesus, I didn't want to hear that. Just knocked the wind right out of my sail. But what I learned from that explanation that she gave me was it was worth the fight for her and for him. They messed up, but to fix it and to get it right. And they stayed together 65 years until she died. It was worth the fight. And I mean, it wasn't an easy fight, and it was a long-lasting fight, over 10 years. But that 10-year struggle, it was worth it to them as a couple to fight and to try to get it right. Now, did they consult God from the beginning? I don't know. I didn't ask. I don't know. It probably didn't. But I believe somewhere in the middle and toward the end, they did. And they fought to get it right. So my question tonight is there such thing as fighting and fixing to get a bad relation right? Make it right. Somebody talk to me.
I'll start off. Is it worth it? Well, I learned the hard way recently. It just be maybe that person was never in love with you in the first place. How do you reconcile that? Okay, is the person wrong for telling you the truth? Maybe they didn't want you. They want what came with you. See, it's two truths. So we talking about, you know, let's talk about we're supposed to try to be one and all of this. What if one of them don't want to be one? What if they tired? What if they found somebody else? So here's my point. Sure, but both parties got to agree. And if they don't, man, don't take it personal when the other party say, I don't feel like it. Okay, then that's fine. Now, here's my point. If you don't want to fight, and I'm going to be transparent where I'm coming from, and then I'm going to yield the mic. Here's my point. I had to tell that person, okay, no problem. I tell you what, you do you, and I do me. And then we're going to leave it at that. Because I'm not going to sit up here and waste the rest of my life trying to change you to want to fight for something you don't want to fight for. The stuff you want to fight for has nothing to do with us consummating a relationship. It's stuff. And the stuff that you can't take with you. Because naked you came in, naked you're going out. So why are we fighting about stuff? You can have that. If that's what you want, fine. And I'm being transparent about that. We got to get down to the root of the problem. Is it really about loving a person and really wanting to be with them? Or at the end of the day, you finally figured out we don't fit. And I yield my mic.
Oh, wow. Wow, that was powerful.
That
was powerful. Okay,
Daniel,
go ahead.
So what I'm going to say on that about fighting for it is, let's just take it back to what God said altogether. If you just stay abstinent, and then you don't have your sexual desires involved in that at all, you can operate with a clear head. if you operating with the love of God in you, one is searching towards God, the other is searching towards God. He's the center, so he's going to make the connection. You don't have to worry about getting your signals crossed because you introduce sex into it before you introduce your true personality. Because you know the fighting for it, you know, in the ones that's supposed to be, God continued to fight for Israel. He made the analogy of him being a husband and she being an unfaithful wife. She was just being a whore. She'd go and run out and keep selling herself to everybody. But his love for her was so strong that he continued to pull her back. He continued to go and get her. When she called out, he would be there. But ultimately, I was just saying, you know, the whole having to fight for it, it probably wouldn't have to be a whole fight for it if we just did things the way that it should be done. But we've gone so far in society and culture and saying that we've advanced so much, but our advancement is more like regression because we all enter in relationships from a basic animal instinct. And it's just to be primal, and it's not even to reproduce. It's just to consummate. It's just to mate. It's just to mate. Mostly society enters into relationships strictly for the fact of mating, just to have sex. It has nothing to do with getting to know the person, the personality, wanting to build a relationship and have longevity. It's not for the intent of, I'm looking at you, I'm interested in you because of marriage. I'm looking to build something, have a family. None of that stuff is on the board these days when couples are meeting. It's meeting, it's hooking up, it's dating, it's not courting. It's not, I'm interested in you for the fact of marriage, for the long term. I need somebody to be settled with so I can have peace and build a long life together. And we actually establish some things. So I just believe that if it went back to and it's possible. I know some people would say that's a big if. You got to go back to just loving God. Hey, it's possible. We love everything else. We choose everything else. If you just choose God, choose God. If you're single, choose abstinence. So you're not thinking with your sexual organs. You're actually thinking, you're watching the person, you're watching their move, their personality, how they respond to certain things. And then you can make a decision on, you know what? I don't think I need to go forward on this. And you can save yourself a whole lot of heartache down the road when the real person comes out, because now you were able to pay attention to who they were for real up front without lust and the sexual desire being the dominant portion of your relationship.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for your transparency, because you're absolutely right. It's all about the hookup. It's not about longevity. It's not about the institution of marriage at all. God's institution of marriage. It's about the hookup. And so then these hookups are made, they're fly by nights, a lot of them. And they may be fly by days and weeks. But after, you know, a little time has elapsed, they're ready to fly on to another nest. And then feelings are hurt. Okay. You know, disbelief is, I can't believe they did me like this. Feelings are hurt. And then all the bad behavior begins. And then the toxicity comes into that relationship. Instead of just, okay, accept it for what it was and moving on. Okay, I messed up. I allowed myself to fall prey to this hookup. That's all it was a hookup. Now that person is going on. Okay, let it go. Move on. Move on and make up your mind what you want and what your expectations are the next time, and don't fall prey to such behaviors. And so this has been a very good discussion tonight. You know, how did I forget to be your lover? There are many ways. There are many ways. And a lot of the problem is you didn't know how to be in the first place. That's the number one problem. You didn't even understand the concept of being someone's lover, what that meant, what it means. It goes beyond sexual desire. It goes beyond that. You know, it's how we maintain and sustain as a couple throughout the day. How do we face challenges and struggles that are going to be thrown our way? You know, how do I support your dreams? How do you support my dreams? How do we raise these children? You know, are we going to your mamas for Thanksgiving or my mamas for Thanksgiving, your mom for Christmas? How are we going to do this thing? It's a multitude of things that are never discussed from the front end that need to be discussed. Are we going to have date nights? I need a date night every so often. So how are we going to work this thing out? Do you need time to go hang with your boys? Go ahead, because I need some time to go hang with my girls. So we're gonna talk about that. You need to talk about all these things and be honest, because they're gonna come up. They're gonna come up. So Tracy, do you have any final thoughts for tonight?
Oh no, I'm just laughing. I'm smiling. This is back to what I was saying about choices and decisions that we make. This is gonna sound crazy. When I just was coming out my situation, it really taught me how to love myself and become intimate with me. And I'm not talking from a sexual context. So because of the relationship that I was in and that I had, it allowed me to be in tune with God, more so in tune with the other things, because that was my relationship. So I can say I give them credit for that, even though I was married to them. And I think the beauty out of relationships now, and I believe the older that we get, I can't speak for everybody, you know the difference between just having sex and then dealing with intimacy, because it's totally different. And so having fun, like you said, you know, what we're going to do, the date night, pre-planning, where we going, how we going to go, even though we might plan one thing and end up somewhere else. You know, parent wise, you know, how does that work? What is your past? When you're really in tune with a person and who they are, you know, at one point, I look at some relationships, it's so many lies that are told that they don't know the difference between a lie and the truth. So that lie becomes their truth. And you don't even consider the other person. You know, like I had a conversation with someone and you know, it's a word they use that drives me crazy. And because of that, I'm like, no, it's not just one person, it's another person. So you have to consider that party that you're with as well, because if you don't, it can cause conflict and it can cause chaos, because it makes it seem is about only what you desire or only what you want. Okay, how about, you know, we talk about the culture even when it comes to going to church. I might want my mate or would love for my mate to come and go to church with me, or he may love for me to go to church with him, or one day we might want to go fishing, or we might want to study the Bible, just like you said, Constance. Those are things that should be discussed. But I'm telling you, sometimes the intimacy is so real that, you know, a lot of relationships require pressure. No, them days are over. I can only speak for me when it comes to pressure. I just want to live a life and walk together and learn that person as they learn me, learn my likes and my dislikes, even when it comes to the kids or the adults or the grandkids, or, you know, the travel, or what food do you like, you know, or, you know, what doctor appointment you have today? Do I need to go? Do I need to stay? Or, you know, are you overworking? Why are you working so much? You know, these are things that as you love and you learn, or, hey, let's just go out, you know, necessary. Is it a date night, or, hey, let's go just hang out and enjoy life. That's just where I am. No really, I'm not going to say attachments, but no real like pressure. Just enjoy one another and get to know each other. And I can guarantee you, if it's not, you know, in the will of God, or what God desires or wants, you're going to know, because you're in a life cycle of, I'm not going to lie to myself no more. So either I'm with you or I'm not. So it's back to that word love. Either I'm going to love you or I'm not. And that's all.
Wow. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you. Now we've got some comments from our listening audience. And someone said some people feel that once they get married, they no longer have to be a lover because now they got you. That's pretty deep. And that's, it's sad. It's sad that, but it's true. They feel that now that I've got you hooked, okay, I don't have to do all those things. But somebody told me one time, I don't know who it was, the same thing it took to hook your baby. It's going to take the same thing to keep him or her. Now, somebody told me that. And I believe that because I know for me, if you start one way, that's what I'm expecting. And if you start falling off, that means you weren't being truthful to me. And I'm losing interest. So thank you, listening audience, for that. They also said this is some true facts, what we're talking about. So thank you so much for sharing your comments. Pastor Cockfield, do you have any final comments for the evening?
No. Let me let the right reverend let him say what he's about to say. Let him say it. I want to hear this. Help me out.
Okay. First, I just wanted to say something in response to the listener with the with that comment. So after the marriage, once you get into the marriage, actually, I believe that's when the true lover actually comes forth. The true lover starts after you get into the marriage, because that's when you have to pull out all of the things that says is there's something new about you today that makes me love you, fall in love with you again. And when the next day comes, there's something new about you today that makes me love you again. And I just want to do this. You're just compelled to do things. It's just like God. God is always compelled just to give us his love, not even doing anything. It's just like when Christ was baptized and the Spirit came on him and the sky opened up and he said, "This is my son in which I'm well pleased." He didn't even do anything yet, but he already loved him before he went out to do anything. He loved them before he did anything. My final thoughts is really on being the lover. That's the thing that comes after. In the beginning, really, I believe that, when you're meeting somebody, it's about being a compliment to each other. What do you have going in your life, your lifestyle, where you're headed? Does it complement mine? Can my thing merge with yours? Because it says that God gave Adam a helpmeet. He already knew what he was going to be doing, and it was a lot on his plate, and he needed a helper to get it done. If they're not complimenting each other, then that's what's going to bring the bumping of the heads. So if you figure that out in the very beginning, whether we compliment each other and then we go forward, the lover part comes after.
Wow. Thank you so much, Daniel, for sharing that. Thank you so much. Pastor Cockfield?
Well, my final thoughts line up with both of them, but I'm gonna add another piece. I'm about to hit a home run. Check it out.
Come on now.
Excuse my vernacular. How the hell you gonna be with somebody all these years and you don't even know the person? See, that's another piece. We the lies we tell. Isn't it amazing how you just be with somebody all them years and you lie and say, "Oh, I know you." Bible even says only God knows the heart of man. You don't know them jokers. You got it's lining up with them two said. If God ain't in it in the first place, you're not gonna know him. So that's number one. And then number two, do you even know God? And then number three, man, if I ain't spirit led and spirit filled, I'm gonna be spirit with an S led and filled, huh? I'm gonna have some spirits, right? I'm gonna have some sexual addiction spirits and some hobbies and habits spirits. I'm gonna bring some spirits to the table, and we're talking Jack Daniels, some weed, some other women, men, twashin, all kind of crazy stuff. We don't want to talk about that stuff. We don't want to talk about it in church. We want to talk about it in reality. So my point is, do you even know the joker you even consummated with in the first place? No. Quit lying. I would never know you if God ain't in it. I'm sorry. It took me this long to figure that out. Like, man, if I ain't plugged in and I'm just not being led of the Spirit, man, I'm dumb. And I'm going to stay dumb. And I'm going to do dumb stuff. And then here's one last piece. If God put me on the planet for me to have a purpose and intent and to do his will and way and teach people who he is, and I'm lying and acting like, sorry, bad relationships do this. We'll be lying about and perpetrating that we know God and we know our purpose and intent. Now, if I don't even know who the hell I am, I'm going to wonder and wonder. I'm going to be all over the map. And then now I'm leading a family. And the wife who's supposed to be following me, she lost too. We all lost. And then you just do that for decades. And then the truth come out. We always dumb. Sorry. We just dumb. We do dumb stuff. We say dumb stuff. We just dumb. All because God ain't in it. So I leave with everyone. Tell the truth and quit lying. It starts with you and your relationship with God and you telling the truth. Do you know him or you don't? I yield my mic.
Thank you, Pastor Cockfield, for bringing it home once again. We can always count on you to keep it real and to bring it on home. I want to thank our listening guests. Good evening, Dr. Patricia Goodwin. Thank you for joining us. This has been a very insightful and engaging conversation. I think we need to have a part 2 because there's just so much ground that we need to cover that we can cover. And just so much that we can provide to our listening audience, because I'm sure that there's someone listening who has either been through it, they're in the midst of it, or they just crossed over the other side and they're looking back. So thank you to my guests. Thank you to my listening audience. And until next time, may God continue to bless you today, tomorrow, and always. Have a good evening, everyone, and good night.